So the brand new Polygon T6 just dropped, you guys, and it might be the best value trail bike of all time. But is it really worth your money or just another new bike with way too much hype? The new Siskiu T-Series frame now has the UDH universal derailleur hanger in the back. It's got the fully integrated cable routing. Look at how sleek that cable routing is. Beefed up rear triangle, beefed up chainstay. Look at that massive chainstay protector right there. It's got the top tube tool mount right here for that everyday utility. They also updated the geometry with a 0.5 degree steeper seat tube angle, 0.5 degree slacker head tube angle, a larger volume rear shock, a badass paint job. Just looks so much more sleek, clean. It's got this kind of like almost like pentagon with like a flat shaped bottom and then kind of the angles on the top right there. Look inside the frame. Look at the little cutouts. Just like, you look at this bike right here and it does not look like a budget bike at all. Polygon is really stepping their game up. But before we start calling this the best value trail bike of all time, we need to answer one big question. What actually makes a best value mountain bike? Because it's not just about being the cheapest bike on the market, right? Value really comes down to how much you're getting for your money. And when you break it down, looking at a mountain bike, there are really 5 requirements this bike must have in order to qualify as the best value mountain bike. Number 1, geometry. The bike has to have modern geo and that capability we expect out of a modern mountain bike, and geometry that's really gonna allow this frame to be able to stand the test of time. Number 2, parts spec. The suspension, drivetrain, brakes, wheels, like what are you getting right out of the box? Number 3, upgradability. There's nothing worse than getting a budget or best value mountain bike only to realize later that you can't upgrade it because it doesn't have things like, you know, boost spacing, through axles, just the things that you need in order to be able to easily upgrade your bike over time. Number 4, looks. Because let's face it, nobody wants an ugly bike. And finally, number 5, price. Because if it's not affordable, then it's not a best value mountain bike. So with those 5 categories in mind, let's take a closer look at the Siskiu T6 and see if it earns the title of best value trail bike. All right, first, let's start with the geometry, right? 0.5 degree slacker head tube angle, 0.5 degree steeper seat tube angle. Now I know some of you might be thinking like 0.5 degrees? That's not that much, Jared, right? But if you really think about it, I mean, the slackest bike I've ever had, the slackest head tube angle was like 63.5. And the steepest trail bike head tube angle I've ever rode is like 65.5. Now that's only a 2 degree difference between the slackest and steepest trail bike that I've personally ever rode. So 0.5, think of 0.5 as really probably like the perfect amount of change when you're really just trying to fine tune that head tube and that seat tube angle to make a bike perform absolutely flawless on the trails. And when you look at the geo charts for this bike right here, the new Siskiu frame, you'll see that the head tube angle is at 65 degrees, the new effective seat tube angle is at 77 degrees, and the reach for this size extra large right here is at 505 millimeters. So it's definitely got that modern geo, and I would say checks the box on the geometry required for a best value trail bike. Now let's move on to the parts spec and see if this Siskiu gets the green check on that box. Because one of the first things you should look at on a bike after checking that geometry is the parts that come on it to see if you're really getting a good value for your money. And of course, this Siskiu has everything you'd expect on a modern trail bike. You know, it's got the dropper post, hydraulic brakes, you know, suspension that's decent. It's definitely got a lot to love. But there's one part choice on this that like really left me scratching my head. In fact, I hated it at first until I realized the true genius behind that part choice. All right, let's start with the basics. Like I said, dropper post that it's got on there, you're definitely gonna want that. Could it be a little bit longer for a taller guy like me? Yeah, it could be a little bit longer, which would allow you to get the seat down further out of your way when you're going downhill and still have it, you know, up high enough when you're pedaling. The saddle, I love the saddle they put on this. I've complained about the saddles that they put on their bikes in the past. This feels like it's got nice cushion, so you're not going to have to replace your saddle to get the right contact point there. Moving up to the bars, you'll see the dropper post lever. It's a decent looking dropper post lever. It works good. It is plastic, you know, so not the most expensive. That's something you could upgrade in the future. The bars, 780 width bars, 30 mil rise on there. The stem, you got that 35 mil length stem. So nice short stem, nice bars, decent grips, hydraulic brakes. These are the Shimano MT200 brakes. I've used these in the past, plenty powerful enough. 180 rotors on there. They are only 2-piston brakes, but keep in mind this bike is spec'd more for a newer rider, so I don't think they'll have any issues with 2-piston brakes on there. The suspension, decent suspension with the RockShox RL silver fork up front, 140 mils of travel up front. Got the 135 mils of travel in the rear with the X Fusion Pro O2 rear shock. It's got the rebound adjustment on there. No lockout, but in my experience with this bike, they climb so good, you're not really gonna need the lockout. These wheels and tires. So most budget bikes, you're gonna get crappy wheels, let's just be honest, and some pretty crappy tires that you're probably gonna have to replace right away. For, you know, this new Siskiu lineup, they got a new wheel set on here. In the past, I've complained about Polygon's bikes that come with these really wide 35 mil internal width rims. They're just way too heavy. These look like a lighter weight wheel that's on here. I think they're like 29 or 30 millimeter internal width. So definitely the wheels you'd want on a trail bike. And then the tires. The tires on here, this bike, let me get this around. So nice, fast rolling tires, Dissector 29-inch by 2.4-inch width with the EXO Plus casing on there, Max Terra compound, so soft compound, EXO Plus protection, so good enough protection, and a really fast rolling tire, front and rear. They do not come set up tubeless, so you got the tubes in there. That's something I'll talk about in upgradability here in just a little bit. And I will be honest, I usually like to ride a tire up front with just a tiny bit more grip, but for a newer rider, these tires, fast rolling tires front and rear with that good grip, with that Max Terra grip, you're gonna be loving these tires. And really the only downside is you're probably gonna have a hard time going back to cheap tires after running these. That's just like one of the facts of mountain biking. Once you get a really good set of tires like this, you have a hard time going back to a cheaper budget set. So really good part spec on this bike and so close to checking that box to make this a best value mountain bike. And then I started looking at the drivetrain. Shimano Q's 1x10 drivetrain. So 1 gear up front, 10 gears in the back. Now, usually on any of my mountain bikes, I have a 1x12, so I have 12 gears in the back. So when I first looked at this, I was like, damn, 10 gears? Like, is that biggest gear gonna be big enough? Is that a wide enough gear range for a newer mountain biker just getting into the sport? But then I realized the true genius behind this setup. This is the Garbaruk 12-speed cassette that I took off my Polygon T7 over there. It has a 10 to 52 tooth gear range, which means that smallest cog right there has 10 teeth on it, and the biggest one up there has 52 teeth on it. This thing is super light, weighing just 370 grams, but it costs $240. And that gear range means those teeth, those cogs are really close and tight together. So not only does it require a more expensive chain, but it's also harder to fine tune and keep that thing shifting perfectly. Compare that to the Shimano Q's cassette right here, 10 gears on it, but it's got 11 tooth being the smallest one and 48 tooth being the biggest one. So still's got a pretty wide gear range, still has a pretty big cog up top for climbing uphill. And then with that, you know, wider gear range, but having less, you know, gears to shift in between means you can have a little bit wider spacing, which means you can have a little bit thicker chain, that's cheaper, easier to maintain, easier to adjust the shifting, and this cassette right here only cost about $80. So a fraction of the price of something that's more expensive like this and easier to tune. And that's when I realized, like, for a newer rider, for somebody just getting into the sport, this is really a good setup. And honestly, like, maybe for all riders, like, I can't wait to get out and actually ride this thing. Thank you, Rice Rocket, with your loud exhaust, for contributing to the video. So the parts spec on this bike definitely checks the box. Now let's go ahead and move on to upgradability. And having the ability to upgrade your bike is definitely something the guys at Polygon took into account with that new UDH, so that universal derailleur hanger. Can't really see it, it's like basically right there. Universal derailleur hanger means that, you know, you can upgrade, if you wanted to upgrade your drivetrain, you can upgrade to any one you want, even those fancy new SRAM ones that, you know, the wireless ones. For the wheels, you got, yeah, tubes in there, but the wheels are tubeless ready, the tires are tubeless ready, the rims are already pre-taped, so it's super easy just to pull that tube out, get a tubeless valve stem, some sealant, and set this bike up tubeless, which I will be doing. From there, moving on to the bottom bracket, you can see, let's get on the other side over here, threaded bottom bracket right there, which is going to make it easier for you to be able to swap out your cranks. You can see right there, see that little tab for the chain guide bash mount. If you wanted to run a bash mount on this thing, if you're riding a little bit gnarlier trails, you can run that bash mount or that chain guide. Through axles, front and rear, with that boost spacing, which is something you definitely need to look at when you're looking at budget bikes. If you don't have through axles and you don't have that boost spacing, it's gonna make it a lot harder to upgrade your wheels in the future. So those through axles with that boost spacing, modern standards on everything, like the suspension right here is gonna allow you to upgrade that shock. Standard seat post diameter, which you would think is something pretty easy to get right, but I know on like bikes I've had in the past, like even Trek, they tried to design some of their frames with like a really like big fat, you know, seat post or seat tube diameter, which made it a pain in the ass. This is the same exact diameter as some of my other bikes. So if I wanted to swap a dropper post over to this to get a little bit longer dropper post, I don't have to buy a whole new one. I can just upgrade this with one of the parts that I already have. So upgradability, definitely checking the box on that. And we'll see how long I ride this bike before I start upgrading it. That upgrade addiction, struggle with it, man. Now moving on to the fourth category, looks. I'm gonna go ahead and just check the box and then tell you guys why. I mean, look at that frame. Not only do I love the green color on that frame, looks so damn good. It's got kind of like this green sparkle to it, but just look at the frame design. I love the angles they got. Nice top tube. It's got a nice sleek look with a really low standover right there. Like I already said, just the way they designed the frame inside right there with those extra little cutouts. The welds are super clean. The polygon graphic, how it wraps around from the bottom of the frame all the way around the side right there. The seat stay right here, a part of the linkage right here, just how that's designed. The super beefed up chain guide on there. You got the black fade towards the bottom of the frame, brings you right into the black components. Got the chrome on the head tube right there with the chrome Siskiu graphic up top, bringing you right down to the chrome graphic on the linkage right there. A couple other stickers that I need to go ahead and remove. But all in all, this bike looks freaking good. I can't wait to throw a couple little minor upgrades on this to make it look even better, like maybe some chrome pedals or a chrome rockfill stem on there. What do you guys think? What would you guys do? Anything you guys would change about the way this bike looks? Leave a comment below. All right, finally, last but definitely not least, the price. Does this actually check the box on the price? The price increased a little bit over last year. So right now the price is $1,599 for this bike, which, like I said, is a little bit higher than it was in the past. Now I know what some of you guys are thinking. I know some of you guys are thinking like Walmart has the FS.2, you know, or FS2 or whatever that thing's called. It's only like $500. But look at what you're getting. And I hope I broke it down good enough. What you're getting with those modern standards, with the 148 boost spacing, you know, with that, you know, good suspension, overall good cockpit, like everything already set, ready to go out and shred on the trails. I really think the price on this bike, you guys, it checks that box for being one of the best value trail bikes in 2025. Just because I'm curious, so this size extra large T6 on the scale real quick, see how much it weighs. And if you guys haven't seen that video yet, where I made a video about bike weight and how we care about it way too much, I'll leave that right here. 36 pounds. That's not bad. I haven't even taken the tubes out yet, so I could easily get it down to 35 just taking the tubes out. Man, 36, that's not bad. That's not bad. Leave a comment below, let me know what you think. So on paper, this bike ticks every single box. It's got, you know, good modern geometry, good part spec, it's upgradable easily, it looks amazing, it's got a good price, and it just might be the best value trail bike of 2025.